Welcome to Guyana 411, the program where you're provided with information on Guyana's developments and changes across a variety of sectors. Our program today brings to you information on developments in the agriculture sector. I am Tiffany Rogers. We all know that sugarcane, paddy, and an abundance of fruits and vegetables are widely grown across the country. But many of the species we love to use to flavor our pots can also be grown right here in Guyana.
The National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute has been working to add some new crops to the long list of crops grown locally. Gina took a trip to the institute recently to see what they were up to. One of their more exciting projects is the one where they are growing spices. Guyana is importing most of its spices, but if this NARI project is successful, we could reduce or even stop the importation of black pepper, turmeric, ginger, and nutmeg. Research scientist of the spices program at NARI, Ramnaresh Sukna, recalls when spices were produced in large quantities in Guyana.
Spices have a long history in Guyana. As a matter of fact, it started way back in 1960. And we always have a saying that Guyana used to be the breadbasket of the Caribbean, so to speak, in general, with regards to agriculture, all the vegetable crops and so. But Region 1 used to be the breadbasket for spices. We had a lot of turmeric and ginger emanating from that region. One of the main problems that we faced in the Region 1 in the 1960s was processing, the regards in processing. So you need to process these spices. Come out freshly, it can spoil. If you don't preserve them in the right manner, it can spoil. So that was one of the major problems in the 1960s. Then it was a fertile soil. Region 1 have a fertile soil and for the spices production. It was abandoned because the people does not know how to process it, and most of it was spoiling. What happened afterwards, in 2008, they resuscitate the spices program. So it's not something new to Guyana, but was just a resuscitation of the spices program.
NARI realizes the vast potential of these crops. They can be preserved, and who knows, Guyana could even reach the stage of exporting these spices. Sukna says, right now, the focus is on supplying local manufacturers.
Why we try to resuscitate the spices program was due to the large number of spices industry that we have here in Guyana. For example, we have Ricks and Zari, continental groups of companies. We have the Biharis, Edward B. Biharis. They used to bring in all the raw materials from different places, probably Indonesia, Vietnam, India. So instead of doing that, bringing in raw material, we find it to resuscitate the spices program so that our farmers, our companies can benefit here in Guyana. So we resuscitated the program, and then we started to do pilot projects all over the country. As a matter of fact, we are in 9 of the 10 administrative regions in Guyana, Region 9 being the exception. And what happened from there, from the pilot project, I can safely say at the moment we are on a semi-commercial scale.
Steps have been taken to recommence the processing of spices, more particularly ginger and turmeric. These crops can be processed to powder form, which is more marketable. Sukna says Guyana is receiving assistance from India to develop its spices industry.
I have imported a turmeric grinder and a polisher from India, along with a ginger grinder as well. Those two equipment or machines are in Region 1. Reason being, people hear many times that we speak of Region 1. As a matter of fact, there is a saying in the Waini, which is a part in Region 1, that if you plant any seed, it would be growing. The soil is so fertile, and the people are very enthusiastic planting these spices there as well. And we place the machines them there because we have a larger cultivation of these spices. One of the issues only here now, we would be kickstarting the processing, the polishing of these turmeric by January, February of 2017. The building is already constructed. We already have all the equipment up there. We are waiting on an engineer from India to turn up and just set up that machine so that we can start the processing. There are large-scale cultivation. Farmers are already planting and cultivating these spices. So as soon as we kickstart the factory, we would have enough material to supply that.
NARI is also looking at a number of other crops. Cassava, breadfruit, and sweet potato have shown extreme potential for diversification in addition to the health benefits that comes with them. Primdat Beecham, who is a research assistant specializing in cassava production at NARI, says they are looking at the production of cassava flour and introducing new varieties of the cassava that would produce higher yields.
What we do here with cassava, generally we multiply improved varieties of cassava for distribution to the farming communities. We have quite a few new varieties that are high yielding. We have acquired these varieties from Seattle, Colombia, and presently we are multiplying at the commercial farm at NARI. These varieties are not yet for release. We have to, first of all, do all the necessary analysis to ensure that these varieties are adaptable. We will start introduce these varieties to the farming communities. There are 3 new varieties which they should yield about 35 tons per hectare, which is almost 85% more than what we normally get here with our local varieties.
Beecham says NARI is looking at the use of biostimulants. This is a substance or microorganism that is applied to plants with the aim of enhancing nutrition efficiency, abiotic stress tolerance, and crop quality traits, regardless of its nutrients content. In other words, biostimulants would produce greater yields.
One of the work that we're doing is the utilization of improved farming technologies. That's the utilization of irrigation system, fertilization, and the use of biostimulants for crop production. Based on results obtained, that's the preliminary results, it has been proven that the use of biostimulant has increased crop production, that's cassava, more than 45%. So this is encouraging signs, especially for farmers, because you can utilize the same plot of land and ensure that you get a higher yield for cassava.
Beecham says pilot projects for the farming and cultivation of cassava crops have started and have produced excellent results, encouraging NARI to further expand the program.
We did the first phase of the project, that's a pilot project at Parika background. And farmers were encouraged based on the results, based on what they saw at the demonstration plot. So very shortly, I expected that these farmers should take up the challenge and go into production using these technologies, because the results are there to show that how the yield has increased from what they normally get to a higher yield.
The research assistant further explained that the flour industry could be expanded with the addition of cassava flour, which has attached health benefits. Also, this will give Guyana an edge above other Caribbean countries since there are export possibilities. However, emphasis must be placed on value-added production for these crops.
I know that the government is focusing a lot on agriculture, especially with cassava development. And what we're trying to do is do a lot more on value addition, because that's one of the components of cassava where we're lacking. And we need to improve on value addition, because we have quite a lot of products that we can get from cassava. Especially we had work with FAO in terms of the utilization of grated cassava for bread making. And we did some tests with the 20 and 30% of the grated cassava in bread, and it came out very successful.
NARI has identified a few areas for the expansion of cassava crops. These include Salem, New Hope, Craig, and Grove on the East Bank and other areas. Meanwhile, breadfruit and sweet potato have also shown major potential and can serve as a substitute for other staples such as the Irish potato, which may not have as high a nutritional content or may be more expensive and definitely needs foreign exchange to import. Indira Prasad is also a research assistant at NARI, but she specializes in breadfruit. She says 2 new varieties of breadfruit, namely Ulufiti and Malafala, are expected to be introduced in early 2017.
It's been identified as a crop with great potential as a health food, and it's a crop that is being promoted for climate change, and it help prevent a lot of diseases, and I have a lot of vitamins, minerals.
Prasad says the crops are currently in its seedling stage at Nari. The seedlings will be distributed to farmers who show the interest and have the farmlands to accommodate the crops.
Well, it's in this is a nursery care here now, so we have to make them adaptable to the weather, the climatic conditions, and then we can take maybe next 2 to 3 months, then we can take them out.
Additionally, the planting and harvesting of sweet potato cannot be overemphasized. The health benefits include the starch being an excellent source of beta-carotene, vitamin C, manganese, copper, vitamin B6, potassium, dietary fiber, vitamin B1, vitamin B2, and phosphorus. The variety grown at Nari is the orange peel. Research assistant Aretha Peters said that in growing this crop, the soil must be kept moist during the growth period, which ranges from 60 to 120 days. It is advised that sprinkler irrigation is one of the best techniques for this type of crop. It is similar to that of rainfall and is delivered through a pressurized pipe network to sprinkler nozzles or jets, which sprays the water into the air, imitating natural rainfall. Pest management is also a key area in sweet potato production. While this type of crop does not attract serious fungal diseases or viral attacks, it can suffer severely from insect attacks. While the sweet potato weevil is the most common pest, aphids, grasshoppers, red spider, mites, sweet potato leaf beetle, vine borer, crickets, whiteflies, and caterpillars also affect this crop. It is important to note that while its name is sweet potato, it is in no way related to regular potatoes. In fact, sweet potatoes are members of the morning glory family. Therefore, this crop is promoted for health purposes. NARI has recognized that all the new crops and plants that have been researched have tremendous health and economic benefits, contributing to the overall health and wellness of our people.
Rice has been a major contributor to our country's GDP and the most sustainable staple around the world. The rice industry provides jobs directly and indirectly to citizens of Guyana. For some time, there have been increased demands for specialty rice, especially on international markets. Guyana has taken the opportunity to diversify its rice production by adding aromatic rice to its line. This segment will focus extensively on where we are with this development.
The aromatic rice variety promised to become the variety that will generate significant income. Aromatic rice is one of the major types of specialty rice. It is a minimum to long-grained rice and is known for its nut-like aroma and taste. Varieties of aromatic rice include basmati, jasmine, and wild pecan, among others. Research scientist and plant breeder at the GRDB Research Station, Dr. Mahendra Prasad says in 2015, aromatic rice was introduced as one of the new varieties being developed.
We started developing, or the concept of aromatic rice came around 2007, I think, 2006, around 2007. We've been toying with the idea even before then, and at that point in time, we started a vigorous or more organized, systematic work on developing our brand or our variety, Guyanese variety of aromatic rice. And why we went that there was the jasmine, the basmati that we brought into the country. Well, I'm sure you have seen the economic impact and the possible impact of aromatic variety for the economy and for the farmers at large. However, we have brought in a couple of aromatic strains from other parts of the world, and they were not performing well, 18, 20, 25 bags per acre, and the plant type would lodge miserably. It cannot compete well in field. We have decided to start, and very ambitiously, I would say, to start a breeding program to deliver our aromatic rice.
In developing this new rice variety in commercial quantities, all hands are needed on deck to ensure that the product is of a high quality and standard, and also that the product is marketable. Prasad says research work has further been extended to develop other aromatic rice varieties, which will further expand our rice line.
This was done in the background of knowing that not many persons around the world would have gotten success in developing aromatic rice. It's a very, very difficult and a complicated path to take, but it was needed. And we thought we back ourselves, the management, everyone, for us to get into this type of specialty rice production at the research level and the breeding level. And we have gone that route. So as we speak, we have released one variety. It touches the farmer field in around 2013, I think second crop, when we started to test in the farmer field, and it was nationally launched in sometime in last year, 2015. We have a backup program, not a backup program, I will say. We have a organized breeding program to deliver more aromatic varieties in the future, because we thought it's a way forward for the rice industry and providing more options to the farmers, millers, and everyone.
In addition, economic benefits are attached to the development of aromatic rice. General Manager of the GRDB, Nizam Hassan, says the agency is currently trying to familiarize locals of two main attributes that generally promote the product, which are its nutty popcorn flavor and aroma.
Countries and economies have to respond to market needs and demands. And Guyana Rice Development Board is no different. So the board saw what has been happening globally, in that there was an increase in the demand for specialty rice. There was an increase in the demand for specialty rice, aromatic rice, flavored rice, and so on. And so we went ahead and did some research on specialty rice. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, because there was an increase in demand for these kinds of rice. Secondly, the price being paid for specialty rice was in some cases more than 100% of what was being paid for regular white rice. And so that became very attractive. Prices reached as much as $1,200 per ton when it's being traded globally. So you can see once Guyana can respond to an increase in demand for specialty rice and get the rice to be grown in larger volumes, larger acreages, which would mean larger tonnage being produced, and tap into the appropriate markets, then we can have economic benefits for the stakeholders involved.
According to Prasad, the GRDB is in its second season of planting aromatic rice. The excellent returns coming from the product has created enthusiasm within the agriculture industry.
On the ground, we are currently expanding the production and marketing, and it's been going well. From last season, we had around 300 acres in the farmer's field, and this current season that is harvesting, it's around 3,000 acres in the farmer's field, and that's destined for, in collaboration with the millers, destined for export market. So that process has started, and at the research station, we've been producing the seed stock for farmers.
With continuous research being done, the aromatic rice variety is proving to be a better rice product and a stable source of carbohydrates. There is hardly any changes done to planting systems except for extraction. This process requires a clean and separate processing system to ensure that the end product is only aromatic rice. Prasad says that with greater yields, production levels increase, which means more supply.
In the development of the aromatic variety, we reckon that we have to get a variety that is almost as good as or able to compete well in our farmers' field, and must be as close as possible in terms of the agronomic practice and other things to our currently grown variety. So we don't have to change much of our agronomic practice to deliver that aromatic variety. And as we speak, the only difference in terms of production, the cycle for the one aromatic variety that we have released is around 10 days more than the normal variety. The fertilizer regime is the same. It's almost yielding the same as any other variety in Guyana. It's around 38, 40, 42. Better farmers have reported, and we have data to back up that, a bit more yield than that, but you could get 6-7 tons using the aromatic. So it's quite productive in the field.
The cropping cycle of the aromatic rice is as long as 120 to 125 days. At the end of this period, the crop can be harvested. Growing of this rice variety can be done anywhere in Guyana wherever rice can be cultivated. Prasad says that with the expansion of production, Region 5 and 6 have taken the lead with a state of preparedness to facilitate large-scale production of the aromatic rice variety.
We have not identified specific area to for the production as such to say that some other areas will not be provided the opportunity to grow aromatic rice. In our testing, we have noticed that in all the areas that we have tested the aromatic rice, we have the fragrance, the aroma is the key thing here, and the level of productivity. And we have seen it is consistent throughout the country.
The rice variety is also less likely to be attacked by pests and insects that tend to pose a threat to the growth and development of the crop. The aromatic rice variety is competing as well as any other rice variety in Guyana. The government is currently in the stage of securing export markets for the rice. The product has already been presented to international market through surveys providing awareness. Meanwhile, the regular long-grain parboiled rice that is generally used by Guyanese continues to be exported.
In an effort to explore new methods of planting leafy and fruit crops, the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARI, is carrying out a hydroponics feasibility study to determine the cost-effectiveness of this method of farming. Hydroponics has been proven as an effective method of farming, especially when the challenges of climate change are considered. In this segment, we will find out how NARI is developing hydroponics in Guyana.
The word hydroponic is derived from the Greek words hydro, which means water, and ponos, which means labor. Put together, this translates to water work. So in a loose translation, it could be interpreted as water works for growing plants. When most people think of hydroponics, they think of plants growing with their roots suspended directly in water with no soil or other substance. This is just one type of hydroponic gardening. It is also referred to as a nutrient film technique, or NFT. NFT is a popular method of hydroponic gardening. However, there are a number of other methods. Research assistant at NARI, Jonathan Melville, says hydroponics is one of the newer farming or gardening technologies introduced to Guyana.
It's a project that came into being last year, April, under the auspices of the Organization of American States. That is a project for the use of organic, hydroponic, and hybrid agricultural systems in the Caribbean for Caribbean schools and for local enterprise. In the facility we have here, it's a demonstration project that shows you how you can use climate-smart agriculture. Climate-smart agriculture is agriculture that is adapted to climate change, whereby, as you can see, you would have an enclosed facility that would basically eliminate the threat of pests and diseases, soil-borne pests and diseases as well, because it doesn't use the traditional soil medium. Also, the shade mesh also decreases the amount of temperature. And so far we've done about 1 season of tomato and 1 season of sweet pepper. The main aim is to see the economic feasibility of such a project and how it would fare under a larger scale cultivation.
At the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARI, they do the recycling method of hydroponics. According to Melville, this method involves the continuous flow of a nutrient solution through a system which is powered by a submerged pump.
We have a recycling method where we have, let's say for just right now we have hot pepper. We have 1 large reservoir, right? And from that we have a submersible pump inside that pumps water into 3 40-feet pipes. And the water is pumped through the system and then recycled back into the reservoir, and that's continued.
The hydroponic program at NARI is a part of a regional project supported by the OAS Development Cooperation Fund, DCF. It is designed to develop the knowledge and shade house skills required for the construction and operation of shade house plant growing facilities in 5 Caribbean countries, including Guyana. Agriculturists say if the climate is changing, food and agriculture must change too. So they are promoting the use of the hydroponics on a larger scale.
The main talk these days is about climate change. Climate is changing, and recently there's a statement that went out from the Food and Agricultural Organization that food should change as well because climate is changing. So it's something that we can use in the near-term future. It's not something that is for the long term. It's something that we should use now. And also, it speaks about economics because you can have higher plant density, which means you have a larger scale of production. And also, it'd be less labor intensive because there won't be any need for weeding and stuff like that.
In comparison to traditional agriculture, hydroponics could be more cost effective since it is a liquid medium of planting crops. This eventually decreases the chances of crop loss and investments. NARI's research assistant, Jonathan Melville, is advising that not all crops should be grown the hydroponics way.
Not every crop is suitable for hydroponics. Currently, we're focusing on fruit-type vegetable crops like sweet pepper and tomato. We're also doing some trials now on lettuce, which is a leaf-type crop. So we're looking to see if that could be extended to leaf-type vegetables, pak choy, lettuce as well.
Some important objectives of hydroponics, particularly in Guyana, are to improve the family's nutrition and healthy eating without increasing costs, increased family savings through decreasing expenditures on food, promotes an early interest in children for healthy eating and productive activities, increase the family's income through members selling their surplus production, create income generation opportunity for persons who cannot access employment, provide elderly persons or persons who are challenged physically or mentally with the possibility of feeling useful and valuable to their family, the community, and themselves, to create micro-enterprises using low-cost inputs and very little time, and to reduce the impact of floods and heavy rain on food production.
We want to promote the use of hydroponics on a wider scale. So it's not just for research, but also for implementation so that the common person could say, yes, this is something that looks not just interesting, but is actually something that could bring money into my operations.
Hydroponics is therefore recognized as an established branch of agronomy which has given higher crop yields and which can be utilized to provide a regular supply of fresh vegetables even in areas where traditional gardening is not possible, and which has proven to be highly profitable as a commercial venture. Some crops which can be grown using hydroponics include lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, potatoes, peppers, and cabbages.
The government says the agriculture sector needs to diversify. This includes the livestock subsector. A lot of the diversification efforts will be dependent on the work being done at the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, the GLDA.
The Guyana Livestock Authority, GLDA, does a lot of research for the development of livestock. The mission of the agency is to promote greater efficiency in the livestock product industry and to provide enhanced services in livestock husbandry, livestock health, and research so as to make provisions for effective administration and regulation of trade, commerce, and export of livestock or livestock products and for matters related and incidental. Nigel Cumberbatch is the Chief Executive Officer of the GLDA.
Our role and mandate is to be responsible for all livestock production and research and extension activities within the country. That is our main function. We are also supposed to ensure that the livestock products that are made available to the consuming public are wholesome products. And so as part of our mandate, we do have a veterinary diagnostic laboratory that can be made available and has been used to check on the wholesomeness of our livestock products that are available to the consuming public.
Since its establishment, the GLDA has been involved in a number of research programs and development projects that are aimed at improving livestock and meat production locally. Deputy CEO of GLDA, Dr. Dwight Warren, says while the agency is looking to put Guyana on the export market for livestock and meats, they are first exploring the development and sustenance of new breeds.
What we want to do is to brand our beef organic. It will take a lot out of us because being organic is not just ensuring that you don't give certain things in the feed. The water supply, the soil, a number of things would have to be free of certain elements. So it is something that we're looking at. In terms of the other species, poultry, yes, we can. We're currently doing a risk assessment. All 5 major poultry producing countries within CARICOM. We're doing a risk assessment to see how we can facilitate the movement and trade between ourselves. Because for me, as I said earlier, Guyana status, I am proud of where we are at this point in time. For poultry, yes, we can export to any country, but the demand locally is still pretty high. We have a lot of large mining companies. So if you look at the amount of meat, poultry, pork, and so that they would purchase and consume, it's just, and the price is pretty competitive.
Dr. Warren says one of the challenges they face is stopping the slaughter of female animals that are at reproductive age.
Over the past couple of months, we would have encountered females, reproductive females, at the abattoir that were destined for slaughter, and the law is clear. You're not supposed to slaughter females. So once we would have done our checks and we realized that these animals are suitable for breeding, we would buy those animals back in.
The GLDA has also been exploring ways to crossbreed the animals so as to have a better product line. Cumberbatch says the introduction of the British Texel sheep breed some time ago is being further explored by crossbreeding with other sheep.
It's a program that we are continuing. We're not making a lot of noise about it, but we are continuing it. But what they would have done was to come in and introduce the purebred Texel sheep to Guyana. We have had a cross between the purebred Texel male and the Barbados blackbelly female, and we came up with a cross that we refer to as the Texana. It is, in fact, a very good animal as it relates to making meat available. These animals actually tend to grow a whole lot faster than the purebred Barbados blackbelly. And they are ferocious, very ferocious grazers. So we still do the cross. As a matter of fact, quite a number of our farmers do request from us the purebred Texel line or the Texana, because they maybe because of hybrid vigor, they tend to grow very, very quickly. And the meat quality from those animals is really, I think, superior to that of the purebred Barbados blackbelly.
Female animals are used mainly for reproductive purposes. Based on statistics, the GLDA has recognized the importance of preserving heifers as a commercial herd. Warren says this is one of the GLDA's programs.
Another capital project was for us to buy heifers. So what we have at Ibini now is some purebred herds and also a commercial herd. The commercial herd is where we have the locally bred animals, or what we term the Guyana cow. We are now putting some improved breeds on those. The heifers we are using Brangus, which is a pretty small breed, but in terms of weight gain per day and so on is very good. And calving ease is much good for those animals. So over the next couple of months you would find us moving a number of animals in and out of the station. What we're trying to do is to move away from slaughtering a lot of females, because if you look at the data, it's actually 50-50 per year, where we have about Most times it's 51% females that would be slaughtered. And next year it might be 51% males. For our cattle population to increase, we have to address that.
Dr. Walron says the use of artificial and genetic stocks are encouraged as this would eventually lead to excellent livestock production.
We would have imported some genetic stock, not only in the form of live animals, but embryos and semen. And those genetic stock, they are at our station in Ibini. Some are here at Monroe, but the majority they're in Ibini. So what we would be doing is to make available these genetic stock to farmers for breeding purposes. And then we can use another set for the abattoir. Those that are not suitable for breeding would go directly to the abattoir. Over the past couple of months, we would have embarked quite a bit on some new technologies, embryo transfers being one of them. In large ruminant, we had a staff who was exposed recently to some additional training in artificial insemination for small ruminants in Jamaica. What we're trying to do is to improve genetic material accessible to farmers at a pretty low cost.
GLDA has also revamped operations at the Hinterland Livestock Research Station, Ibini, where they have been focusing on the production of beef and small ruminants like the Barbados blackbelly sheep. Poultry farmers can also expect greater input from the authority with regards to improving sustained livestock production with works that are ongoing in the hinterland. Additionally, the GLDA is working towards developing various breeds of sheep, goat, and pig in the hinterland.
Sheep at the Bini station, we concentrate wholly and solely on the Barbados blackbelly breed. It is the national repository of the Barbados blackbelly breed, and we really don't allow any out of the other breeds, to be held at that station because we feel that it should be kept as the national repository of the Barbados blackbelly breed of sheep. Zebo has been a breed that has been around in Guyana from time immemorial. A number of the other breeds that were mentioned, the Brangus, Beefmaster, the Simmental, have been here for some time. But in 2010, there was a program that was funded by the Inter-American Development Bank, a diversification program. As a matter of fact, as a result of the diversification program, the Guyana Livestock Development Authority was actually formed. And that program was responsible for bringing in a number of breeds of cattle into Guyana. We've got a herd of meat goats in the intermediate savannas. We are working with them, but I don't know that we are working with goat with the same intensity as we would work with a number of other with the other animals. And I say this because of the demand. The demand for goat is not as great as that of beef cattle or dairy cattle or sheep. It's a whole lot less. And so we are not working with the same intensity, I think, as for goat as we would for the other animals.
The GLDA has recognized that before they look to the demands of the regional and international markets, livestock rearing must first meet the demands of the local market. Research will therefore continue to be carried out in the rearing of cows, sheep, pigs, and poultry to have a better product line.
Thank you for staying with us. I hope our program was informative and encouraging. Have a great week ahead.